Hey there, and thank you for watching the Designated Pundits. Today we have Major League Soccer Week 10 picks and predictions. I'm Bob Benthamiglias, joined tonight by Scott Omer, and we have some really great picks and games to talk about here for you. Major League Soccer Matchday 10, it's kind of one of those weird spaces where it's between a quarter and a third of the season is now complete. That is under wraps. Last week we had our first actual losing show. Here, some recaps for you. 5-11 on 16 wagers, minus 5.77 units. The good news, still 79-77 on 156 picks, plus 8.94 units on what I can no longer call the young season. We're starting to get some information. The data is out there if you're one of the data nerds like me. And we think we have another great show here for you today. A bunch of picks, and we're going to be talking about 11 matches. So there are 4 matches we do not have official plays on, and Scott's going to help take us away to the first one.
I am. I really like this part of the season because we're starting to get teams that are a little more mature. They're playing a little better soccer, but the transfer window just closed. There's always a flurry of activity on deadline day. And so we still get a little bit of uncertainty for a few weeks here.
I do, but this is like the part where we have so much information, we make educated decisions that don't go our way. It's like that beginning of the season, we have such an edge on the sports book because we just talked about all 30 teams. And now it's like, okay, it's not the summer window craziness yet. The schedule isn't congested enough that we can make smart plays on that. These guys are going head to head with nothing else in their way.
You're absolutely right about that. So let's talk about this first matchup on our docket here today, FC Cincinnati and Sporting Kansas City. Now, Cincinnati obviously much, much better in the standings. This one's going to be Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time in Cincinnati. And let's just have a quick look at the overall betting lines. Cincinnati, as you would expect, the home favorites with odds of minus 170. Sporting KC long odds as the road team at plus 420, draw plus 300. Over under for 2.5 goals, you're looking at minus 136 to the over and plus 110 to the under. So slightly favoring a low scoring game here. I believe we have 3 official picks on this one.
Yeah, I got this one rolling, and the way I saw it, FC Cincinnati, far superior team. Like there's no question on this. What can we pair it with to get it into a plus number? I didn't get a plus number. I got a minus 114 on Cincy and over 1.5 total goals. That is an incredibly small total. You're only cutting out the 1-0 Cincinnati win, and I think that is great. I looked at these two teams, and Cincinnati has scored 2 goals or more twice, and not scored 2 goals or more twice at home this season. But the 2 games where they didn't score twice was against New York Red Bulls and the New England Revolution. Those defenses combined are allowing 18 goals this season. Sporting KC have allowed 19 just by themselves. That is 1 more goal than the only 2 teams to keep Cincinnati's offense at bay. So I think the 2 goals is likely. I like the 2-goal total on Cincinnati, but it's 1.5 goals, minus 156. I can't bet on that. So I'm going to pair Cincy with the total of over 1.5 total goals. We're getting that at 114, minus 114.
Yep. And interestingly enough, I didn't copy you, but I came to the exact same conclusion independently. I really like Cincy in this fixture. I think Kansas City has been incredibly frisky the last few weeks. Ever since Peter Vermees got let go, they're starting to play with a little bit more energy. It's a little bit that new manager bump, maybe. Maybe it's just the players getting kicked into life that, hey, we just got legendary head coach of this franchise fired. But they're a little more frisky, and Cincinnati's defense has not been as resolute as they have been in years past, right? They're letting in a lot more goals than they used to do, but they're also more prolific offensively. And so for Cincinnati, they probably need to actually go and score at least 2 goals in this game to get the win. Now, SKC on the road, there's no guarantee that they're going to get a goal. So I didn't really want to go all the way into over 2.5, because 2.5, that might not hit.
Yeah.
You might not get 3 goals in this game. So I landed exactly where you landed. Cincy and over 1.5. Alex, I think, is looking at this like a 2-1 victory. Probably banking on Evander and Denki to get it done, and then Kansas City to just be a little frisky. He's got plus 135 on that. And I don't hate any of those.
No, and SKC's been looking really good this season. They made a couple signings during the transfer window. We'll talk about those probably next weekend or next week during our recap show. But Joveljic is starting to score again. You have Shallowy and Suleimanov playing really well on the wings. I think that the 2.5 is likely. Plus 135 is a much better number than 114. But here, after a bad week, I'm just looking to push my numbers up. I think I'm over 11 units on the season, but that's not good enough for me. So I'm going to take a little, the theme of the week for me is taking safer bets than I would usually play just coming off of a down week.
Yeah, you and me both. All right, moving on to our next game. Toronto is going to host NYCFC. Neither of these teams has been incredibly good. Toronto, a very poor 1-4-4 record. NYCFC, a middling 3-2-4. Also Saturday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, start at BMO Field. A quick look at the betting lines. Toronto is plus 140 at home. NYCFC plus 185. The draw plus 220. The over-under, you've got minus 108 to the over and minus 112 to the under. Kind of fun to see both of those slightly favored. Bob, you're a little more the expert on some of these betting lines. It seems to me like the sportsbook is saying we don't really know what's going to happen in this game.
Yeah, they're daring you to make a play on this, and I want to remove myself from having to pick a winner in this matchup. I'm not interested in that. NYCFC, they're usually much better at home. They are usually low scoring everywhere, but they just, 2 weeks ago had that Atlanta United shootout 4-3, a little unpredictable there. But Toronto, at home, they're actually not that bad. They lost 2-1 to Chicago. Chicago's doing that to teams this year. They're going on the road and punching them in the heels. But they shut out Vancouver Whitecaps and Minnesota United, both to 0-0 draws there. And NYCFC can certainly go out on the road and not score any goals. They did that 3 out of their 5 games this season. So my matchup is just under 2.5 goals at minus 108. I think that's a really solid number you're getting there. From as far as my sports betting model goes, that's the bet that I'm seeing the most benefit on. We're actually getting a better number than the sportsbook would like to give us here, and I'm pulling that up. I'm just kind of riffing for a second because my sheet has some advanced computations that don't exactly load up right away every time. I have an under of 3.5 goals at 84.49% and an under of 2.5 goals at 65.86%. And this under of 1 minus 106 is the sportsbook number here. It's up to 108 now, but that gives us like a 0.45% advantage on the likelihood of that chance happening. That's why I got to take this, man. 14.4% advantage on the under. You're not going to see an advantage like that anywhere. The sportsbook sees a little more goals because you see the over-under numbers are right around 1.5 for each team. That's going to average out to 2.34. I'm just taking the under. I think that's a likely thing to hit. Toronto, they've had 2 straight 0-0 draws at home. Nothing left to say. New York City FC will likely oblige on the under here.
I tend to agree with you on this. I wasn't quite brave enough to make this pick, to go with this play. There's a little something in it that I think is just made me worried. Maybe it's Toronto, who I think are a little bit on the up. They're just starting to play a little bit better. Maybe it's some of their stars getting a little more healthy, being a little more invested in the current project. I don't know. NYCFC is a team that could, you saw against Atlanta, they could get involved in a shootout. I think Toronto's defense is better than Atlanta's, so I don't see anything like that. But I think you're on the right track. I think this is incredibly likely to happen, and if you can get that advantage, then it becomes a really good play.
Yeah, and until they show me something, I'm gonna keep taking unders on these teams. It's very strange because unders happen very seldom in Major League Soccer, but we've had a lot of really good plays on unders in recent weeks. So I'm just hoping to keep that streak alive here by pinpointing. It's not the only. I have another under coming up in a bit.
Yeah, it is. It is unlikely. We or not unlikely. It's a little uncommon. But last week was also a week of uncommon, so it can definitely happen. Next game up, we're going to talk about the New York Red Bulls hosting CF Montreal. The New York Red Bulls 3-3 on the season, maybe surprisingly so in a lot of ways. And CF Montreal 0-3-6 to start, but they've had a ton of games on the road, so big dose of context there. Saturday start time, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, so the first of the slightly later games. And then a quick look at the betting lines. The Red Bulls are favored at -135. Montreal +360 on the road. The draw is +260. The over-under for 2.5 is +100 for the over and -122 to the under. And we do have a couple of different picks here. Bob, do you want to start with yours? Actually, I'm going to start with mine because yours, I think, is probably a little better than mine. So last week, I looked at New York at home and I said, yep, definitely. They're a better team. And that didn't play out. And that is incredibly MLS. But the logic for that was good. And Montreal, yes, has been on the road to start the season. And their underlying XG numbers are actually not that bad. But New York's underlying XG numbers are better. And New York's roster is better. And New York is at home. And it's just the logic of it. And last week didn't go our way, but that doesn't mean that we were wrong necessarily to think that way. And so for me, I look at this matchup and I still look at CF Montreal and I say, yes, this is a team that can create chances, but this is still a team that doesn't necessarily have the talent and the quality to put those away. And the Red Bulls do have that. They have that on the roster, and they have the midfield and they have the defense, and they can put things together, and they will start to put it together as the season goes on. So I picked the Red Bulls. I got them a little bit before the sportsbook change. So at -125 is what I picked at. I guess it's -135 now. Bob,
yeah, these odds are walking. That's why you kind of hear us say different numbers. In the last pick, I said -106, -108. Different sports books have different numbers, and as the time goes by, they shift. And by the time you watch this video and people bet on these games, you're going to see an even bigger shift, generally in the direction of the plays we have here. Look, Red Bull 3-1-1 at home. They're 3-3 on the season, and if you hit any Red Bull message boards on Facebook or Reddit, you would think that the team is falling apart at the seams. That is not the case. This is still a decent team. They had a terrible strategy against DC United last week, which led to their first loss at home. And that was shut down Benteke with your two biggest, slowest center backs and change the formation to a four-man back line. Benteke went down injured, and Red Bull had no answer the rest of the day, which is what happens when you plan for only one possibility. Look, Red Bull are at home. That leads to a higher goal. So I'm going to combine Red Bull and over 1.5 goals at +116. Look, Minnesota started the season with 2 away draws and 5 away losses. Before a 2-game home stretch brought their season to a 0-3-6 record. They're allowing 1.71 goals per match on the road, and I think Red Bulls are going to score twice anyway. All the cards laid out here. It's a home team scoring 2 goals. We're not really having to stretch the wallet that much to come up with a much better number.
Yeah, absolutely. I like where you're at. I think my only thing was I watched the Red Bulls last week.
Yeah, they were bad.
And they were bad, but the offense, the defense was bad. And yes, the defense game planning around Benteke made the defense bad when Benteke went out. But that shouldn't affect the offense's ability to be good against a pretty sorry, DC defense. That DC defense is not that great. And they just sort of weren't. And the Red Bulls have struggled sometimes to score goals. And while I think the quality is there in the roster, and I think the potential is there in the roster, New York is still not quite arrived at that moment yet where I trust them to score 2 goals in any single game. And so I think, just like I said last week, I think this could be a 1-0 game. And I want to protect myself against that. And so a little bit safer, I just picked Red Bulls at minus 125.
All great reasons. My whole thing here is just Red Bull for years were great away and terrible at home when they were playing that press. We dare you, come after us, we'll counterattack you, that'll be great. They're not really playing that way anymore. They only have 1 goal scored in all 4 away matches. 2 of them were 0-0 draws. 2 of them were losses and only 1 goal. But when they were at home, they've only not scored 2 goals in a single match, and that was last week against DC United. I think it was a little bit unlucky. We'll see, but I'm gonna wager the, what am I getting, like 50 points on this by putting the little parlay together. I gotta be able to read my own team, and it's so frustrating when you get a couple straight losses on the team that you support. Let's see what happens this weekend.
Let's see what happens for sure. Moving on, this should be an exciting game. Orlando City hosting Atlanta United. First off, we love a rivalry matchup, and these are definitely geographic rivals. Orlando off to a 3-4-2 start. Atlanta off to a 2-3-4 start, and their defense is bad. This is a 7:15 p.m. Eastern start time on Saturday. Let's take a quick look at the betting lines. Orlando City minus 135, home favorites. Atlanta United plus 340 with the draw plus 270. The over-under, to the surprise of probably nobody, the over is minus 178, so that is heavily favored, and the under plus 146, not considered as likely. Let's see now. I think I'm the only one that has a pick on this.
You are, yes.
Yeah. Well, I think Orlando is going to win this. I have very, very little faith in Atlanta's defense, and that is mirrored by my almost equal lack of faith in their offense, which I think has been really dysfunctional this season. There's been 2 Orlandos that have played so far. There's been an Orlando that has played beautiful soccer, great attacking, flowing soccer, and scored a lot of good goals. And then there's the Orlando that had like 3 0-0 draws in a row. I think we're going to start to see that Orlando offense come back. They have a lot of talent. Their underlying numbers are still pretty good. I don't have the XG up in front of me right now. I'm not quite as organized as Bob is, but I did look it up earlier. It all still fills me with confidence. I wanted Orlando. I didn't really like the minus 135. I wondered if I could bring that up a little bit like we had talked about before. I thought with this Atlanta team, you're guaranteed that there's going to be some goals in this game. So I just paired it with an over 1.5. I think 2 goals is totally reasonable. I don't think that is stretching anything out of this game, and it gets me to plus 100. What do you think?
I want to know why we can't have nice things. I want to be on this side with you, and I want to live bet this with you at 1.5 goals. My problem is I don't know why Orlando couldn't score a goal in 3 straight matches. They were at Montreal. Montreal's bad. They were at Red Bull. That was a very boring match. And then they were at Philadelphia. You can't score a goal in Philadelphia. Like, they're not getting shut down by really good offenses, so that's the only reason I'm out on this play. I do think Orlando wins. I cannot bet it at minus 135. Atlanta's going to be without some huge pieces. They're going to be without Gregerson on defense. They're going to be without Moyomba. They're going to be without Latte Lath, who is on a red card suspension. It's so clear that Orlando has the advantage here. Are they really going to start Noah Cobb on defense? Maybe I have to get on this with you.
Maybe. Let me give you.
I'm going to let you. I'm going to let you know what? I'm going to let you take this one on your own.
All right, that's fine. I mean, but for the listeners, let me give you a little bit extra context, right? That Philly game, that 0-0 draw, that's in Philadelphia. Philadelphia had been a team that had been really hot and then suddenly got really cold. I think that's about Philly just trying to find that balance for a little bit, trying to be a little more defensively decent, because their defense had not been great. The 0-0 at home against the Red Bulls, I think that's a little bit the Red Bulls trying to find some sort of road form and not just give up, stuff on the road, knowing that they're not going to score lots of goals. They got to keep it close.
And that was a rematch from the Eastern Conference Final.
They've lot drawn of Red Bull. Yeah,
Red Bull and of Orlando have drawn twice already this season.
And then that Montreal game, that's in Montreal. Montreal's finally at home after huge road stand to start the season. So there's a lot of pressure on them to try and get wins and points out of their home games now that they're finally starting to have them. So I think there's some of that Orlando has had some kind of interesting matchups that maybe have a little more emotion in them, or the teams playing them are looking for different things, and that has sort of stopped Orlando from just having like a normal game. This Atlanta team, I don't think they're there. I don't think they have the same sort of stuff on the line that like Philly or Montreal or the Red Bulls had. Yes, Atlanta needs to clean things up defensively, and I think they will be trying to do that. But they need to clean things up everywhere on the field. They're not good anywhere right now. So I think there's a lot for Orlando to take advantage of. All right, so I'm the only play on that one. Maybe Bob will join me later. He'll think about it.
I might on my own, but I'm not going to on the official game sheet just because we need to. I'm going to let you steal the thunder on this because if we both lose another 2 units, show's going to be shut down by midseason.
That's true. All right, let's move on then. Charlotte is hosting the New England Revolution. Charlotte is off to a really good start, 6-1-2. New England 3-1-4. Maybe a little underrated there. That's going to be Saturday, a 7:30 p.m. Eastern start time at Bank of America Place. The betting lines for this one: Charlotte FC is favored at home at -150. New England a fairly long +370. Draw at +280. Over under. The over for 2.5 is -138 with +114 to the under for 2.5 goals. All right, I think we've got a couple of different plays on this one. Bob, I really like the way that you've diced this. Do you want to start that up?
Yeah, so I am looking at Charlotte. They're 5-0-0 at home, and the Revs are 1-1-2 on the road. This could be just a good team versus bad team, but you see that number -150 for Charlotte, +370 for New England. You know what the favorite is here, right? So I am doing kind of a new thing where I'm going to pair the home team with an over or under total, and I picked the under of 4.5 goals. The 4.5 goal under plus a Charlotte win is +103. And not only does my head tell me, yeah, of course, that's the great play. The numbers show the under 3.5 is at 67.6%. It's going to be over like 80% for the under 4.5. I just don't see how the number even gets that high. While New England's been poor, their defense has actually played really well. They've allowed 7 goals in their last 8 matches, and the goals number is similar for away and for home matches. Charlotte have only seen one game go over 4.5 goals this season, which was their shootout against the atrocious San Jose Earthquakes. New England have only seen one game go over 2 goals, which was their 2-1 loss to NYCFC. New England Revs may be a little better just because they're defensive, and part of winning a soccer game is scoring more than your opponent, but also preventing your opponent from scoring more goals than you. Both teams are really good at one of those things. So I think that Charlotte win, and I do think an under of 4.5. I did 2.5, and I'm like, okay, that's a great number, but I can go more. 3.5, okay, that's an even better. 4.5, and I'm still in plus money. Sign me up.
Like I said, I love the way that you diced that up. I also looked at this. I just went straight with Charlotte. When I was looking at them, it was -135. You can see again how these numbers are changing. But you're right. Both of these teams are good at defense. New England is struggling. It's the kindest way I can put it, struggling to score goals. Charlotte, a little bit better, but a big chunk of their goals is like that 4-1 win against the Earthquakes. That Earthquakes defense is imaginary most of the time. They got a 3-0 win against San Diego. San Diego's a team where they'll put up 3 on you, and then maybe they'll give up 3. Like, live by the sword, die by the sword. That was the big message out of their preseason. I love that 4.5 number. That is incredible. I think that is almost as close as you can get to nailed on. Alex is looking at Charlotte and over 1.5 for even money.
Real quick, I think that's likely too. I think this is a 2-0, 2-1. I don't see this game being a shootout here. I think it's going to be exactly as expected.
I totally agree. I think it's going to be really low scoring. All right, moving on. San Diego FC is hosting RSL. San Diego FC off to a 4-2-3 start. They are playing well. RSL off to a 3-0-6 start. They are not. This game will be on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern at San Diego Snapdragon Stadium. Quick look at the lines. San Diego FC is a home favorite at -140. RSL plus 360 on the road. Draw at plus 280. Over under for 2.5 goals is going to be -144 to the over and plus 118 to the under. And I believe Alex is the only play on this. He's got San Diego and both teams to score at plus 240. How do you feel about this one?
I like I'm trying to plug it into my calculator right now, my parlay calculator. My model has a 55% chance of both teams scoring. It's going to be just about a plus 120 odds. And if we pair that with the San Diego, which is -140, we can get plus 270. He's taking it at plus 240. That's dialed in with what the sportsbook is going to pump out. So I like it. I think that there's a likely chance that both teams score. San Diego at home is going to be better than RSL on the road. RSL, they made some moves. They're wheeling and dealing. They're looking to make their team better. I just don't think it happens quite yet. I don't think it happens just this week. Everyone knows I'm like a San Diego FC fanboy. So I think that he found a really nice bet. The fact that it's that high in the plus hundreds, kind of tells you that he's confident in this play. And if he's that confident, I'll be that confident too.
I think the one thing about this that boosts the number is it's that both teams to score, and it's RSL on the road right now. RSL, when they played San Diego at home and RSL hosted, they lost that game 1-3. The offense is really not clicking, and their striker signing to boost was Willie Agata out of Kansas City. They didn't get the DP from Boa Vista that they were talking about. Thank you, Boa Vista, for that. There is a part of me, knowing RSL as well as I do, there's a part of me that says it's a really, really good chance that RSL won't get a goal in this game. If San Diego FC manages this game, and if San Diego gets up early, there's a really good chance that RSL is not going to get that goal. And they might need something special. And that, so far this season, has not really happened. And so that's the one thing I look at this and I say, I don't know.
The one special thing that happened this weekend was Diego Luna not being suspended and Andre Reyes being suspended for this match. I love both of those things for the outcome. So yeah, one official play here, San Diego FC, and both teams to score plus 240.
Moving on, Houston is hosting Austin. Houston, a 1-4-4 start, maybe a bit surprising. Austin, a 5-1-3 start, doing well. This will be Saturday, 8:30 p.m. at Shell Energy Stadium. Houston, the Houston Dynamo are slight home favorites at plus 100. Austin FC are plus 250 as the road team. The draw is plus 240. We're looking at plus 100 to the over and minus 122 to the under. And just checking, I believe that, Bob, you have the only play on this one.
I do, and I was so confident about it. I wrote about this in my sportsbook article for Hooligan Soccer. I love these Copa Tejas matches. I can't get enough of it. These teams are going to play each other quite hard. Houston have scored 8 and conceded 14 this season, while Austin have 7 goals and 8 conceded. And while neither team's done much to inspire confidence, I think there is a nice play here. taking Austin FC on the double chance and an under of 4.5 goals at -116. Again, I'm spreading that on over under to the extreme limits just to push this parlay one way or another. Historically, Austin's done well against Dynamo. They have 7 wins and 4 losses, and they have no draws since 2021. The double chance covers a bunch of likely outcomes here. Austin saw Brandon Vasquez score finally last week. He could have had 2 if you put that penalty away. But I think their lackluster offense is going to turn around at some point. They have a lot of talent here. So I'm going to take Austin on the double chance and under on 4.5 goals. Only one of the each team has had only one of 9 matches go over that total so far. And we're talking about like week 1, like shootout, some ridiculous stuff. I could see Austin winning 1-0, a 1-1 draw, something like that. I don't even see 2-2 in the picture for this matchup. I think it's going to be cagey, and an under favors the roadside, even if it's a very high under of 4.5. Ridiculously high under.
I like it. Austin has been keeping games so close all year long. It's 10 games. But Austin's done a really good job at keeping games close. They're 5 wins, and a lot of those are 1-0. This Houston team can be intense. They play hard. They got that dramatic last-minute equalizer against Colorado last week. There's not a lot of quit in this team. They will certainly make Austin work for this, but I love the way you're covering things with the double chance. I do think Austin has more offensive firepower options, whatever you want to call it, than Houston. So I like where your head's at.
Thank you. One official play here. Austin double chance under 4.5 goals -116.
All right. Moving on. Nashville is hosting Chicago. Nashville a 4-1-4 start. Chicago 3-3-3. This will be Saturday at 8:30 p.m. at Geodis Park. That's 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Quick look at the lines. Nashville -120 as that home team. Chicago Fire +300 as the away team. And the draw +250. The over is at -152 and the under at +126. A few things surprised me about this one, and that is Chicago being, such a big kind of road dog after some of the performances they put up. I think they play better than that. Feels a little disrespectful to me almost.
They beat Dallas. They beat Toronto. They beat Vancouver. They lost to Red Bull and Columbus Crew on the road. There is no shame in that game whatsoever. I like what they're doing, but I think it's just because of the home splits. Nashville started out so hot. 0-0 at home, 2-0 at home, 3-0 at home. They didn't allow a goal in their first 3 home matches. And this is what happens. You get a skewed number here. Do I think it's +300? No. Am I going to bet on that even number? Also, probably not.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I landed. So I looked at this one. I said, hey, there's opportunity here, but I need to divest myself a little bit from the actual, or divorce myself a little bit from the actual result of this game. So I looked into this one and I said, you know what I actually think is going to happen? I think both teams are going to score goals. That has been a very common theme for Chicago this season. And that's kind of a common theme for Nashville this season. Their defense is not what it used to be. Their offense is still not electric, but there's opportunity there. So I'm looking at both teams to score and over 2.5 goals at -110. Is that reaching a little bit on the over 2.5? What do you think?
Possibly. I like this match in a couple different routes. I think I would just favor the Fire in one of their, the double chance for Fire or draw, -115. I like that number a little bit more. This game has the widest range of outcomes of a lot of the matches that we have for the Eastern Conference this week. I can't put my finger on it, and I don't know. I'm going to be rooting for Chicago. I think this is going to be a really sneaky good game. But I might be tempted to take Chicago Fire +210 on the draw no bet, or Fire and a draw. Although the over goals would seem to favor Nashville in this one. Is Nashville going to have Zimmerman? That's really the question here. because that's, everything else is going to kind of go in and out of that. Fire have made it happen with Glasgow on the right back. Barroso is going to be out for this. Gaspar is going to be out for this. Parebo, Tehran. They have some injuries in the back line, which is going to favor the over. But those back line issues, Barroso, he's practically an attacking winger for what he's put up this season. The real thing is Zimmerman. If I find out Zimmerman's not playing, I'm going to be taking Chicago on one of those draw no bets or the double chance. But I just can't do it right now.
One thing I do like is Nashville's expected goals at home is about 2 goals per game. Their expected goals conceded is just a little under 1. Chicago expected goals scored is over 1, and their expected goals allowed is also a little over 1. So goals, and that's all I really need. That's all I really need is goals in this game. So,
you're doing like your Van Halen impression. Goals.
That's going to be my thing. You'll see me on Twitter watching this game and just tweeting goals, score a goal, do a goal. Speaking of, one of the hottest teams, Vancouver Whitecaps, will be playing in Minnesota. So the Loons are 4-4-1 and hosting the Whitecaps, who are 6-2-1 on Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern at Allianz Field. Minnesota United are -105, a slight home favorite there. Vancouver Whitecaps +250 on the road, a draw at +260, the over sitting at -118, and the under at -104. This is kind of an intriguing matchup. Vancouver's been very, very hot. Minnesota is a team that loves to manage the game. They actually really don't want to have the ball at all, which has made their home form a little bit strange, which I think is why you're getting a -105 number for them. Bob, you've got to play on this one.
Minnesota's last 2 home games have been 0-0 draws. Vancouver Whitecaps' last 2 away games have been 0-0 draws. I am taking the under of 2.5 goals. I got it at a better number. I got it at +100. I got it at even money. And I just think that this is going to be kind of a slam dunk here. I favor Vancouver in this matchup, but Vancouver's playing right now. They have a game 10:30 tonight against Inter Miami, where I believe that they will be playing, the CONCACAF Champions Cup semifinal. They're going to be putting their squad out there. Yeah, I don't think that that's going to affect them defensively because they're going from Vancouver to Minnesota. They don't need the freshest legs to win this one. I just don't see goals here. My model's projecting a low under total. And if I look here at my advantage for the under of 2.5 goals, I'm getting 11.05% in the plus on what the sportsbook number should be based on my own projections, which means we got to be taking that bet. That's a huge percentage of advantage there. I don't really have much more to add. I think that this game is going to be cagey. It's going to be a little closer. I think Minnesota, because of Vancouver playing, has the advantage. But what does a Minnesota advantage even look like this year? They started loss, 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 wins, 2 draws. Okay, go take a 0-0, 1-1 and give us some money.
Yeah, I agree with your logic there, especially because Vancouver is playing right now. I will say a little bit of those 0-0 draws for Minnesota, last couple of 0-0 draws against Toronto on the road, and then at home against Dallas. Those are not great offensive teams anyways. And then the Vancouver 0-0 draw, the last one.
Terrible team, St. Louis and Toronto.
Yeah, that's a road game in St. Louis. St. Louis's defense, by the way, is phenomenal. So, but they can't score goals, for being so like. There's a little bit there that says this might be a little different, but Vancouver's going to be tired. I don't know. I almost see this feels like a trap game. Like last year, Vancouver loses this game. They lose this game 1-0. This year, I don't know, which is why I didn't play it.
But a 1-0 is it reaches the under. The thing with these 0-0 draws, and I like that you focused on the teams having bad offense that they were playing against, but it takes 2 to tango in a 0-0 draw, and the other team can be as bad on offense as you want. If you're not putting one in the back of the net, you're not winning either.
Yeah, Minnesota's offense baffles me. They should be a lot better than they are, but they are terrible. But I like your logic. I like where your head's at. Under 2.5 goals, plus 100. Good play. Moving on, LAFC will be hosting St. Louis City. LAFC off to a 4-1-4 start. St. Louis, despite early signs of looking good, are off to a pretty poor 2-3-4 start. This will be Sunday at 7:40 p.m. Eastern at BMO Stadium in Los Angeles. LAFC are pretty significant home favorites here at minus 185. St. Louis City at plus 470 on the road. The draw plus 310. We've got over under here of minus 132 to the over and plus 108 to the under. And I believe that I'm the only one with a play on this, and it's not really a surprising play.
You are, and I could so get behind you on this too.
I'm taking the under. St. Louis City's defense is really good. I mean, really good. Their offense is really bad. LAFC's defense is good enough, and LAFC's offense continues to not impress me. Their XG numbers are okay, but they continue to not really score freely. I know they just put up 3. One of those was an Olivier Giroud free kick that is
banger certified. Remarkable.
Yeah, banger certified. He's not doing that every time. And the other was a last-second penalty. Like, that's the difference between 1 goal and 3 goals. Like, that's not repeatable stuff. So, look, I'm still not convinced on this LAFC offense. The St. Louis offense is mostly imaginary. Hit the under.
Yeah. I think that's pretty standard. St. Louis over under of half of a goal, not 1.5, half of a goal, minus 174 to the over. There's a good chance I think that they can get shut out completely. I have a huge advantage, 13.42% on the under of 2.5 goals against what the sportsbook is giving out right now, even though the under minus, what is that, plus 100, about even money, plus 100
about even money. I found it at plus 100.
Love it.
Love it. All right, one official play, under 2.5 goals at plus 100. All right, our last game of the week here. The LA Galaxy will be hosting the Portland Timbers. LA Galaxy off to an 0-3-6 start. Portland a 4-3-2 start, and looking up a little bit in recent weeks. This will be Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time at Dignity Health Sports Park. The Galaxy are minus 120, Portland Timbers plus 270, the draw at plus 290, over under minus 174 to the over and plus 142 to the under. Bob, I believe this is your pick.
I mean, what on earth has LA Galaxy done this season to be minus 120 favorites at home? Like, I'm scrolling through some of the other matches here, and I'm seeing other teams like Minnesota United minus 105. They're like similar odds. Nashville minus 120. Nashville against Chicago is the same as LA against Portland. It's wild to see that number even written in print for what Galaxy's put together. They're winless this season. It's not going to go like that forever, but can it go like that for one more week? I absolutely think so. I took the double chance on the win for Portland, win or draw, at minus 115. I mean, you're covering such a huge amount. In my model here, I have 36.9% home win chance, and that leaves 63.1% chance of winning for Portland, and I'm getting the draw no bet. That's covering 63% of the possibilities here. It just makes too much sense for me. I'm taking Portland on the double chance. You can talk me into a lot of bets. You can talk me into Portland on the draw no bet. But the point here is I want this bet to play. I think I have this one dialed in, and I want it to play no matter what, even if I'm giving a much lower number for it. Mm-hmm. So here I see the double chance is right now, it's actually going down a little bit to minus 115. That's that's the same number I got it in earlier today. But the draw no bet plus 195 for Portland, that's going to be in play for me too.
I really like where your head is at with this one. I think there's some interesting things that maybe the numbers have led the sportsbook to put Portland where they're at. Portland's expected goals on the road is only 3.9 in 4 road games, right? So about one a game. However, they've actually scored 7. Expected goals against 6.5 from the 4 games. They've actually conceded 4. So they're actually like outperforming their XG numbers on the road a little bit. And maybe somebody is looking at that and saying, it's got to come back down, right? And the Galaxy are former champions and it's got to come back up. But does it have to this week? Because if you really look at their form, Portland is a little bit better. They're actually getting a little bit better each week. And the Galaxy sort of aren't. I don't see that.
So my sports model, I project with XG numbers, not with actual goal numbers. So that already took that into account. I have Galaxy with a 36.9% chance to win and Portland Timbers with a 37.2% chance to win.
Yeah. The Galaxy's XG at home, 4.2 across 4 games. So they're barely scraping, an expected 1 goal a game. They've actually scored, 2 goals.
Not enough.
That's terrible. Anyway, I love it. One official play here. Timbers double chance at -115.
Let's take it away on the final show picks. I have Cincinnati over 1.5 at -114. TFC NYCFC under 2.5 at -10 something. My eyes can't really pick up this small screen, but I'm sure you guys at home can see that we have a whole bunch of official plays. Dion's taking the week off, so good luck to him. He's having a nice weekend there, getting stuck at work a little bit late tonight. Alex with his bets here, Cincinnati over 2.5, my +135. His bangers, San Diego FC and both teams to score +240. It's going to be a huge unit when that drops on, I believe it's Sunday for that match.
Something like that. I just want to say my favorite play of the week has got to be your Charlotte play and the under 4.5.
It's such a big number.
That's such an insane number to get +103 on that. So well done you for that. Any final thoughts?
No, just everyone have a great weekend. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified. I know this is very late in the game to be giving any thing like this out. You can check us on YouTube or Spotify, and we'll catch you around next Monday with a recap of everything that went on in MLS Week 10.